Hi Ravens! Today I want you to pay attention to this. Anytime you see a stop sign, you're going to stop and write. Do not ignore the stop sign and watch the whole video. Today we're going to focus on writing a body paragraph with a counterclaim. So you might be asking yourself, well, what is a counterclaim? A counterclaim or a counterargument is when you acknowledge what someone who doesn't agree with you might believe. Or another way to say it is a rebuttal. The purpose is to rebut or show that the other side is wrong. So we are going to rebut what anyone says about our argument today. So we need to consider, what is my audience thinking that might influence if they believe my argument? So I'm going to go into my 2.6 essay organizer, and I'm going to choose the reason that I think best rebuts my claim. So my claim is that we should not allow strict voter ID laws, and I'm going to choose the reason that I think would best rebut that. So I know that a lot of people believe that voter ID laws prevent fraudulent votes, but I know from my research that that's not true. So the reason that I'm going to choose is strict voter ID laws failed to make a significant impact on voter fraud. You're going to choose the reason that you think best rebuts, remember, doesn't agree with your side. Because you're going to prove why this is in fact true. So choose the reason that you think best does that. So the next step is to write your topic sentence. What are you arguing in this paragraph? You've already written the sentence. It is the reason that you chose. So mine is, strict voter ID laws failed to make a significant impact on voter fraud. Let me show you where you're going to write that. You're going to go ahead and paste that reason, that topic sentence, right here. Okay, next. So I have my topic sentence, and now I'm going to introduce my evidence. So I'm going to go back to that organizer page. I'm just going to pull over my organizer that I already have right here, but you're going to go back and look at 2.6. And I'm going to choose the piece of evidence that best supports my claim, that strict voter ID laws fail to make a significant impact on voter fraud. So my evidence that I'm going to choose is 45 cases of a voter pretending to be someone else out of 1 billion total cast over the course of 16 years. I know that this came from a study, and I'm going to need to go back to my source in my notebook in order to figure out exactly where this came from and who wrote this statement. You might need to go back into 2.4a to see that. And I am going to use this example right here. So I have a few different sentence starters that I have to introduce my evidence. When I'm introducing my evidence, I want to introduce the author, the title, and any relevant information. So here's mine. According to Justin Levitt, an election guru and researcher at Loyola Marymount University, in a study he conducted about voter fraud, he found, and now I'm just going to write my evidence, 45 cases of a voter pretending to be someone else out of 1 billion total votes cast over the course of 16 years. Source number 3. Go ahead back into your notebook right now. I'm going to have you stop. Maybe go to 2.4a to do a little bit of digging to see where that evidence comes from and write that piece of evidence. Go ahead and do that. And just as a reminder, you're introducing your evidence here and writing your evidence down here in the space provided. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write an explanation. My explanation needs to be 3 to 4 sentences long, and it should give my reader an understanding of my evidence and why they should believe my topic sentence. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite my evidence in my own words. I'm going to describe it. So I'm going to describe what this actually is saying. Here is my description. There are very few documented cases of voter fraud. I'm going to have you stop and go ahead and rewrite your evidence. Okay. Next step, your reasoning. You're going to explain how your evidence supports the topic sentence, and you might include additional details here that help explain how this evidence supports the topic and your overall claim. So I'm looking at my evidence and I'm looking at my claim. My claim says that voter ID laws fail to make a significant impact. And here I'm giving you a statistic showing you how it fails to do that. So I might say something like, this is important because, here's my example. One of the biggest reasons for voter IDs is to protect our country from voter fraud. However, this evidence suggests that such a small number of voter fraud exists in the first place, making voter ID laws excessive. So I want you right now to go ahead and stop, and you are going to write your reasoning. Okay, last step of your explanation. Refocus. You're going to refocus your reader back on your claim. You might use a sentence starter like, this shows that. Here's mine. Instead of protecting against voter fraud, voter ID laws simply disenfranchise certain groups of people and are unnecessary. Again, I'm going to have you stop, go ahead, and write that refocus sentence. Okay, last step. You're going to write your clincher sentence. You're going to restate your claim in a different way and connect it back to the central claim. So I'm going to connect it back to the idea that voter ID laws just are unnecessary. And here's how I see it. Here's how I say it. Since voter fraud clearly is not an issue, getting rid of voter ID laws would allow all people in this country the right to vote. So notice how I talk about how they're insignificant, how voter fraud is insignificant, and I'm talking about how we should just get rid of them because they're not fair. So I'm going to have you stop, write your clincher sentence. Okay, so we've written our whole body paragraph. Now's the time that we're going to write our counter argument at the top. Remember, we're going to acknowledge what someone who doesn't agree with us might believe. We're going to rebut them. The purpose is to show that they're wrong. So we're going to do this in two steps. We're going to acknowledge the opposing argument. So what is my audience thinking that might influence if they believe my argument? And then we're going to explain why it's wrong or why it's not important. Watch me do this. Remember, here's one thing that's important. Let's say, for me, I am against voter ID laws, right? That's my position. That's my argument. That means that I am going to use the words here, advocates or proponents, to talk about the people who agree with voter ID laws. They are advocates of voter ID laws, right? So watch how I do this. I might say something like, although advocates believe, or proponents of voter ID laws say, and here's what I say. Although advocates of voter ID laws believe that they are necessary, right? I'm acknowledging the opposing argument. I'm just acknowledging it, not saying much about it, just acknowledging it. And then I'm going to go, and then you're going to see your topic sentence. Voter ID laws fail to make a significant impact on voter fraud. That's what I'm telling you. I'm telling you it's not important. So again, my counterclaim is opposing the argument. Although advocates of voter ID laws believe that they are necessary, in fact, and here's why I'm telling you why it's not important, strict voter ID laws fail to make a significant impact on voter fraud. Go ahead and stop and add your counterclaim. Add your counterclaim to the top of your essay. Okay, now that you have your whole essay written down, I want you to check and make sure you have all the parts. Then you're going to copy and paste everything into one whole paragraph down here. Notice how it's color coordinated. We would really like you to highlight each section and color it accordingly. This really helps us when we grade you. So you're going to copy your whole paragraph right here. And you are going to go into 2.A, sum body counter paragraph. This is where your summative goes. And you're going to paste it right here. Then you're going to go down, and I would like for you to grade yourself on the rubric exactly where you are. So maybe you have an L3 here, but you definitely think that your counterclaim is, you know, an L4. So you're going to grade yourself exactly where you think you are. And that is all. We believe in you guys, and we know that you can do it because you're absolutely amazing. Let us know if you have any questions. All your teachers are here to help and support you with anything that you need. Thanks.